Hey guys, welcome to our second video. Today we're going to be talking about cellular respiration. So go ahead and clip the green guided notes clip to your laptop and let's begin. Alright, so the first thing we're talking about is what is cellular respiration? Well, before I get there, I first want to point out you might see in some of your school problems where it says just respiration, it doesn't say cellular respiration. That is the same thing. So cellular respiration and respiration are the same thing. Alright, so what is the purpose or function of respiration? Basically, it takes the energy that is stored in glucose, which are these large molecules of carbon, because it's made of C6H12O6, right? So it has a lot of carbon in there. And it takes those and breaks it down so it can make energy. So think about it like this. Plants make glucose for themselves. They have to make food for themselves. But then we take this glucose and we now need something from that glucose. What do we need from our food? Why do we need our food? To help us make energy. So that is the whole purpose. I want you to go ahead and write down this formula for cellular respiration and press play when you're ready. Awesome. So what I want to point out to you, look how crazy this is. This is the formula for respiration, and this is the formula for photosynthesis. All it is a switch. So the reactants of photosynthesis are now the products of respiration. And the products of photosynthesis are now the reactants of respiration. So if you remember our photosynthesis song, right? 6 CO2, 6 H2O, sunlight always coming through the dough, C6H12O6, and 6 O2. So if you remember that formula, all you got to do is reverse it, right? C6H12O6 and 6O2 makes 6CO2, 6H2O, ATP. It's just reversed. That wasn't as smooth of a rap, but I just want you to know. If you can write the photosynthesis formula around, flip it, and you have cellular respiration. So, but here's the difference. Instead of sunlight being your energy now, ATP is your energy. Okay? So I want you to see how this is a cycle here. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So where does respiration happen? Respiration happens in the mitochondria. It looks like this right here. You should have this diagram on your little half sheet. There's a mitochondria. You have your matrix, your membrane, and all that stuff. This mitochondria is found in all eukaryotic cells, meaning plant and animal cells. So, if you're wondering the big million-dollar question, do plants do cellular respiration? Yes. Yes, they do. They can do photosynthesis and respiration. They can do both. They're just magical. Magical. Okay? So again, respiration happens in all eukaryotic cells, meaning plants and animals. It happens in both in the mitochondria because both cells have mitochondria. If you look right here, here's a mitochondria in the animal cell, here's a mitochondria in the plant cell. Cool? Cool. Now, what is produced at the end of respiration? That is ATP or adenosine triphosphate. And unlike it is chemical energy. It's not solar energy from the sun. But because we're making this energy, it's chemical. All right, next. What is ATP? Well, ATP is energy. Okay? And the ATP actually stands for adenosine triphosphate. What does the word tri mean? That's right. It means 3. So, adenosine triphosphate, it has 2 main purposes. One, it stores energy for short-term purposes, meaning whenever we need it, we get that ATP. We begin to break it down. So, it's not that we can store it for a long period of time. We have to use it when we need it, period. And, of course, ATP is found in all cells. It has 3 parts. Follow the mouse. You have adenine, ribose, and the 3 phosphates. Now, I want you to notice something. Do y'all see right here how it says high energy bond and it's between the 2nd and 3rd phosphate? Keep that in mind because we're about to talk about that. So I want you to go ahead and take your CFU pen, and I want you to clip it to the top of your computer and go ahead and begin answering this on your half sheet. All right, so here's the question. If someone gave you a brick of gold, what would you do with it? But here's the second part to it. What would you need to do first with that brick of gold? Go ahead and write down your response. I'm excited to see it. All right, so I don't know what you put down on your paper, but either way it goes, before you can even do all of that magnificent stuff you say you wanted to do, you have to first convert your gold, brick of gold, into cash. And then you can take that cash and spend the money. So, you can't go to the store with your brick of gold and be like, give me the Lambo, bro, and just drop the brick. Like, people gonna look at you crazy. You have to first convert it to money. This is the same like glucose. Glucose has all this energy. We want the energy that is inside of this glucose molecule, but we cannot just take it. We have to change it into something that we can use. And the thing we can use is ATP. Another example is a tree. I want paper. And I'm like, I got this tree though. I can't just turn my tree. My tree's not just gonna magically turn to paper. I have to take my tree and turn it into paper. So we have to take our glucose and turn it into something we can use, which is gonna be ATP. So here's how it works. The energy of ATP is stored in the bonds of the phosphate molecules. So ATP. So here's an ATP molecule. The high energy bond is here between the second and third phosphate. Now please write this down and understand this. In order to use this ATP, you must break the bond between the second and third phosphate. Then it's going to release energy. And once it releases it, it's going to turn from ATP to ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Now, we said the word tri means three. So in triphosphate, you have three phosphates. But in diphosphate, how many do you have? Two. Okay? So think about it like this. When you have your phone on the charger and it's at 100%, you have all that energy stored in your phone. But what happens as soon as you take the charger off? Your phone begins to use that energy and your battery decreases. It's the same like that. ATP is like stored. It's like, I'm just got so much energy. But as soon as you take that charger off, that energy drains. As soon as you break that charger from your phone, the energy begins to be used. That's stored. That's all it is. All right, ready for another question? I know you're like, what, another question? Another question. What processes occur in the two structures to the right? So here's structure A, here's structure B. What occurs here? And write it exactly like this. Go ahead and begin now. All right, next question. The following molecule is ATP. Which two phrases correctly describes this molecule? Go ahead and begin now. All right, back to the notes. So there are two kinds of respiration. You have aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic is with oxygen. So air with air, so it's with oxygen. Anaerobic is without oxygen. I find this picture of this little girl. I don't know, for whatever reason, she looks like an Anna, okay? So Anna is underwater. Anna is without oxygen. Anaerobic. I'm so dope. Like, best teacher ever. So the first one, the one that we're going to focus on in this video is just aerobic respiration. So there are three stages to cellular respiration. We have glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, or aka citric acid cycle, and we have the electron transport chain, which you may see me abbreviate as ETC. So these three stages, and please write all of this stuff down, helps to produce 36 to 38 ATP, so energy, from one glucose molecule. So that one molecule helps make 36 to 38 ATP. And it's in that order. Thank you, Mama D. Oh, you're this way. Thank you, Mama D. All right, so here's the first stage, glycolysis. Please write glycolysis, step 1, and write this down. So glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. It is anaerobic. Remember, anaerobic means it does not need oxygen. So even if oxygen is not available, glycolysis can still happen. And glycolysis ends up making 2 ATP and pyruvate. So even without oxygen, 2 ATP are made in glycolysis. All right, next one. Oh, I forgot about that. All right, then we have the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is also known as the citric acid cycle. It occurs in the mitochondria, so in that little bean-like shape. It is aerobic, meaning it needs oxygen. So if there is no oxygen here, it will not happen. It will not occur. And just like glycolysis, it makes 2 ATP. But instead of pyruvate, it makes carbon dioxide. Then we have the electron transport chain. So the electron transport chain occurs in the membrane of the mitochondria. So it's like that outer layer part of the mitochondria. That's where electron transport chain occurs. Please do not remove that from your mind because that is a question on your test. All right. Just like the Krebs cycle, electron transport chain needs oxygen. It is aerobic. And this one is the king of ATP. Notice how, like, all hail the crown, okay? It needs ATP. So if you look right here, look how much it makes. It makes 32 to 34 ATP. These only made 2. So if you cut oxygen, you're missing a lot of your ATP. And with it, it also makes water. So I want you to notice something. In respiration, you make ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. These are how it's made, okay? The carbon dioxide that we release is made by our Krebs cycle, and the water that we make and release is by the electron transport chain. How dope is this? The last thing I want you to notice is that ATP, how it's made. So like we're making this ATP, and basically you have these electrons, just like in photosynthesis. You have these electrons, and they have so much energy. So they're able to take ADP and put together another phosphate to help make all that ATP. So again, ATP is made when you take ADP, adenosine diphosphate, you add a phosphate group, and now it becomes ATP, this whole molecule that we store our energy in. Boop. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is this, and it's so important, y'all. Oxygen is the final electron acceptor for the electron transport chain. Look here. See all these electrons? Oxygen is going to carry that. And it's so important because here's why. If we place an organism, an aerobic organism, so they need oxygen, into an anaerobic environment where there's without oxygen, like here, they're holding their breath, your body still needs ATP. So what is it going to do if there's no oxygen to get the electrons? Well, the electron transport chain will stop first, and then the citric acid cycle. So this one, electron transport chain will stop first because electron accepts is the final electron acceptor. So there's no oxygen, there's nothing to accept the electrons, and it shuts down. And then the citric acid cycle will follow. All right, go ahead and answer these questions on your paper. All right, so the first question, as soon as I can move my big head out the way. All right, below are events that occur in cellular respiration. A student placed them in this order, but it's incorrect. What is the correct order of the stages of respiration? Going to answer now. All right, next question. Complete this. Blank has an important role in cellular respiration. It is the final electron acceptor for the electron transport chain. All right, going to answer on your paper now. All right, and the last question is this. True or false? When an aerobic organism is placed in an anaerobic without oxygen environment, it stops the citric acid cycle first. If it is false, tell me why and go ahead and answer now. All right, guys, that is it. Go ahead and start on your independent practice. Clip it with your red pen. Follow this information down here, and I hope you understand it. Ask me questions if you need to.